This is the Whole Care Network. Helping you tell your story one podcast at a time. Content presented in the following podcast is for information purposes only. Views and opinions expressed in this podcast are solely those of the host and guest and may not represent the views and opinions of the Whole Care Network. Always consult with your physician for any medical advice, and always consult with your attorney for any legal advice. And thank you for listening to the Whole Care Network.
The following podcast sometimes offers unusual solutions to usual problems. These solutions are meant for qualified agencies or individuals to put into action. And I'd be willing to bet that's not you. Listen, folks, we don't take ourselves too seriously. Neither should you. So, let's go have a laugh. Welcome to Unscrew It Up, where we offer differently twisted solutions to life's little problems. I'm Josh.
I'm Amanda.
What's on your phone there that you're doing
while
notes. We're recording?
My notes.
You were
for this
typing.
episode.
You were typing.
I was not typing. I was toggling back and forth between two screens.
I promise friends
Welcome back. It's good to be home.
I promise friends that you have my 100% attention. Amanda and the family are back from the United Kingdom, and I'm excited to talk about a little bit of that. This episode is going to be themed towards that, including what I have Wilson Technologies working on. Wilson Technologies. Yeah, we'll fix it, but you're going to pay.
Oh, yes. I haven't had an update in a couple weeks from Wilson's Technologies. What are those few people in your brain doing?
They had the same problem that I had the last couple weeks. My passport did not come in time for me to be able to join you and the family on this wonderful trip to the United Kingdom.
It was sad.
And I was quite upset. So I went to Wilson Technologies. I said, folks, we need to get this thing going where we chip people.
Like dogs and cats at the vet?
No, but that's actually a thing that's in.
I know. It just, when you say chip people, it just makes me think of the vet.
We need to get it going.
Okay.
So right now they have the technology, obviously, to do it. And the only thing that I think is holding some people up is the fact that they feel like they're going to have this chip inside them and they can be tracked.
Right. But we're tracked by our phones anyway.
We are tracked by our phones, but there's something a little bit more permanent feeling about putting it in your skin.
Right. Well, and then there's also the whole like end times Antichrist mark of the beast thing that some people might believe in.
No, that's pretty ingrained as well.
Yes.
So I do have a solution to that. My problem isn't necessarily, I don't care that people know where I go, right? So I'm fine
Good.
with.
I feel reassured in that.
But I understand as well the privacy issues because we have companies now like Facebook or Meta or whatever they're called, for example, who have shown just brazen disregard for our privacy. I get that. My thing is, number one, it's really difficult to get any sort of information from a government agency. So in our case, we sent the passport information away. Mm-hmm. There was like one little extra thing that I needed to do that you all didn't need to do. And that sent the whole process back for weeks. It's just difficult. So I have a two-pronged approach here. Number one, I want to have the chip on my person. So why can't we make it, if people are concerned about privacy, why can't we make these chips and put them in rings?
Okay.
Instead of like putting on your body. Because my thing is number one, it's difficult to get. It'd be nice to have all this information in one place. Your medical records, your credit card information, your payment options, your passport, all these things. It'd be nice if they could be on a chip. But if people are so concerned about privacy, then let's put it in a ring. Done. Because I rarely, if ever, take my wedding ring off. I'm not going to lose that. And it's in one place. So wearable, I think they're called RFIDs.
I mean, I think this is what Apple Watch is trying to be, except that it's not integrated with the government. So your passport and stuff isn't on there.
Well, see, that's the second prong. We need to have the government partner with Amazon and Apple.
Yes.
Because Amazon and Apple get stuff done.
They do. Government, not so much.
So it's time for us to say, this is just how it is. Fine. Why fight it? The governmental processes that we have going on right now, not very successful, very cumbersome, decades behind the times. It's time that we caught up. And then all of a sudden, we would be leading the league, leading the world in innovation and in technology in our governmental processes. And that's always a good thing. So Wilson Technologies, you need to now be just a negotiator or a broker between us, the consumer, the government, and Apple and Amazon. Get it done. Get it done. I'm sick of it. Well, I don't want to have to carry my wallet around anymore. I don't have to worry about losing my credit card. I don't want to have to, every 10 years, go through this arduous process where I need to renew my passport. Get it done. I don't care how.
So it's interesting that you're bringing the proposition of a ring, because one thing I noticed when we were in London, and we're in the tube station a lot, and there are giant billboards and signs and posters. Yes.
Did you mind the gap?
We minded the gap all the time.
Thank you.
And I mean, it legit says mind the gap everywhere, and they do say it when you're getting on and off the train.
Mind the gap between the train and the platform. Mind the gap.
And interestingly, some of the overground trains were not even. Like when it pulled up to the station, you would have to step down into the train and step up to get out. Like it was really...
That feels dangerous.
Especially when you've got a 6-year-old who just needs to jump everywhere. You've not lived until you've walked many, many miles for weeks with him, who will not walk on cracks and will decide that he can only step on the gray tiles and not the brown or whatever.
That feels like his D&D evil character name. Him who will not step on cracks.
That's right. And he would do it sideways. So he was always holding my hand, but his body was turned sideways when he was leaping everywhere. So I have a permanent crick in my back from being twisted sideways with him. That's why when we ran into friends that we knew, which was great, he just started holding their hands and I let it happen.
Yes.
Then they could all just walk sideways with he who not step on the brown stones. Anyway, we were in the train station and there's this giant billboard sign up for a ring called the Pear Ring, Pear. And it's
like the fruit.
Like the fruit.
Okay.
And it's the anti-dating app movement. London is participating in this great social experiment with probably 10 or 12 countries. It listed all the countries at the bottom via their flags. And it's a way of letting people know that you're single. So it's like an anti-wedding ring, right? Or an anti-engagement ring. It's a ring. I assume you wear it on your right hand. I don't know. And I've not looked to see what these look like, but it's a ring that people will know that you're ready to meet people in real life, that you're single and you want to connect in real life, IRL, as they say, and not on the apps. And I'm still really confused about it, but it's a very big ring movement that's taking place. So maybe you're getting onto like the ring bandwagon, as it were.
It's always about the ring. Wasn't there a movement to have a ring amongst the Christians that you'd wear this ring and not have premarital sex?
Oh, it's the purity ring, yeah,
right.
Mm-hmm. And like weirdly, like your dad would give it to you, like on your 16th birthday or something.
Oh,
that did not happen to me. I'm just telling you.
No,
I'm telling you, this was
not.
a thing.
I'm instantly uncomfortable with this whole concept.
Yeah.
Okay, well, the Unscrew It Up show, we're going to have our own ring where you wear this ring, and every time you see it, you promise to listen to our podcast, subscribe, like, comment, and tell your friends.
Yes,
Done.
Please.
If you're a parent, you recognize that sound.
Ow!
Someone else has stepped on a Lego.
Ow!
In fact, right now, thousands of innocent parents are navigating post-playtime living room minefields. But it doesn't have to be this way. The Wilsons are now making available to the first 150 desperate parents to contact us plans to make shoes made out of Legos. That's right, this revolutionary footwear spares you the pain of unwanted Lego discovery while simultaneously picking up those little nuisance toys. And, as an added benefit,
The more you use them, the progressively taller you get. New Lego shoes. A parent's only hope.
Ah!
This message has not been approved by Lego.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Wilsons will now unscrew it up.
Update. So like I said, this is going to be a little bit of a different thing that we do today. Amanda has gone to the United Kingdom, and she has noticed that they do things differently than we do things here. And in some cases, they do things differently over there in categories we've already talked about. So Amanda's going to bring us things that they do that maybe we can adopt in this country based on the things we've already talked about in past episodes.
This is true. I have some noticings. I was there for 10 days. That's long enough to kind of get a feel for how life goes over there. And I've noticed some things that either align to categories we've covered on this show or our other show. So the first thing is restaurants.
Restaurants, yes.
Okay. So we've talked about restaurants. We've talked about having children in restaurants. We've talked about making it difficult to stick to a diet in restaurants. So the first thing is the pub. The English pub is ubiquitous. And I studied about it before I went over, because one of the things is don't go sit at a table and expect somebody to come wait on you.
Yes.
It's not table service. You go up to the bar, you order. But the thing is, they kind of do it as a hybrid thing because I think they see the Americans coming and they know that we don't know. And so it's really confusing because I took the kids to Stratford-upon-Avon, and lovely day spent traveling around Shakespeare's birthplace. And we went to a pub called the Parchment and the Pen, which the other thing is their names for these places are so cool. We've also talked about names for restaurants and how you don't know, we have a Waffle House, clearly that's waffles, but we don't have like Chicken House or whatever. This is so different because it doesn't address any of, it's like the king's head,
right, the Parchment and the Pen,
arm.
you see that, and it's
Right.
like, that's a stationery
That's
shop.
right.
Done.
So, but they're cool, right? So we go to the Parchment and the Pen, and they come and they wait on us at the table because clearly we're Americans lost. There were like 3 people in the restaurant. The other thing is that, so I was with the 16-year-old and the 6-year-old, and the 16-year-old was so conscious about not appearing to be the obnoxious Americans and did not want her brother to make noise because she was afraid that we would just draw attention to us and people would want us out.
Right.
There were 2 other families with little British children, so loud, so obnoxious. And I'm like, look, kids are kids. And this is what happens in the world. But it was really this struggle with her the entire time to get her brother to behave in a way that wouldn't get us kicked out of the country.
Boris Johnson was their prime minister. Our child was not going to get kicked out of the country.
Fair enough.
Unless he had like a party during COVID times with all of his little buddies.
Right. Yes. What she did. Kids menus. They do have kids menus in most of the restaurants. If they're like in a high traffic place, going to get families. Kids over there, though, it's not the chicken fingers, macaroni and cheese pizza, hamburgers, right? It's full Sunday roast meal. I mean, it is very much a different palate for these children, which I love, but our child just ate cheeseburgers the entire time. So they would have the obligatory cheeseburger. That's all he ate. We ate more cheeseburgers and pizza in England than we did here in the States because 1, we've got a 6-year-old with a picky palate. 2, we have a 16-year-old with severe food allergies. So we have to be really careful about things. So we just went very, we couldn't go to Chinatown. We couldn't have curry. We couldn't, in Indian places, like we couldn't do these things. So we ate a lot just of pub fare. I understood that pubs were family friendly. So the first half of the trip, we were in Birmingham. There is a pub there. Again, the name's the Sacks of Potatoes.
Sacks of
not sack of potatoes, sacks, and not SAX. Sacks, just a sack. SACKS. Sacks of potatoes. Go there, look at the menu, and then go in, and it's 18 and up. So I can't bring the 6-year-old or the 16-year-old in. So they've sort of done this thing where now I'm really confused. They're flipping the pub family friendly thing on its head. Now I'm standing in the middle of an industrial place, can't find anywhere to feed him, wind up giving him a Snicker bar from the grocery store until we walk for miles and wind up in a restaurant that's attached to a hotel. Wound up being lovely. But they do this thing where they just decide 18 and up, done. And it's not a bar. It's a pub. I mean, it's a bar, but it's not it's a pub with food, and so they've limited the children. They've done what you suggested on the restaurants, was we just don't have children in the restaurants.
Yeah, no, I like that.
But it's hard when you're traveling with children. So, they threw me with the 18 and up. So that's something we might want to consider here. Not just, 18 and up for clubs and bars, but this was a restaurant, 18 and up. Done. So that's a thing we might want to consider.
You just have to have it be very prominent on the sign so that you don't even have to go in. So you can see on the sign. And you're saying they didn't. I understand that.
Right.
But you would just have to have that.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. The second thing is the names. Sacks of potatoes. Fabulous. Parchment in the pen. Fabulous. Has nothing. I guess they had potatoes at the pub, but
Sacks of them.
I'm loving the names of all of the pubs. This is a great idea. I want interesting names in our restaurants here. Again, I told you we ate a lot of burgers and pizza, so I can't really comment on, other than the people in the UK love the Heinz ketchup. It's everywhere. And mayonnaise.
Well, mayonnaise,
ubiquitous.
but mayonnaise we knew because we're such big fans of Pulp Fiction. I mean, that's like a subplot, the mayonnaise, then how much they love mayonnaise. Don't you remember the scene with John Travolta and Samuel L.?
I slept through Pulp Fiction.
How could you sleep through Pulp Fiction of all the movies to sleep through, unless you were in a coma? You're
very angry at me for something that happened about 15 years before we met.
All right, move on, because I don't know what to do with sleeping through a movie like Pulp Fiction. I have nothing for you there. Next. What's next?
Okay. But they would have McDonald's signs everywhere, and it was like the mayonnaise deal. Like that, it was like, I think I sent you a picture of it. It was like cheeseburger mayo deal, $3.99 or whatever. And so that was, mayonnaise is a very, very big deal. And
I mean, I like me some mayonnaise.
Did eat some chips with some mayonnaise. The other thing is that they do have the word fries on their menu. Everybody's like, oh, fries are chips and chips are crisp and whatever. No, they have fries and they have chips. Chips are the big, thick cut, like steak fries that we call over here, and the thin, crispy ones are fries. So let me dispel that myth. They do use the word fries. Last thing, takeaway, not a thing. You can't ask for a box to take something away with you. That's a very big thing over here in America. We have huge portions, so there's usually a lot of food left, unless you're gluttonous. And
American.
There was a time we were in a pub. We had met friends of ours from the 100 Things We Learned from Film podcast. It was during London Pride. We were in Trafalgar Square. It was incredible experience. But they had booked a pub. That's the other thing. Get reservations everywhere you go. They had booked a pub right off the square, right off the parade route, so you couldn't hear anything. Very, very loud. But it was a really fun experience with them. The 16-year-old had gotten a curry pie and didn't really care for it, and so asked to be able to take it with her. And the girl said, "Can I have a box?" And the waitress said, "Oh, sure," and came back with just a plastic container with no lid, just a clear plastic container with no lid. And our friend Rachel explained that's because takeaway is not a thing. Not takeaway. Leftovers aren't a thing, taking it with you. And so if somebody asks for a box, they will bring you like an old margarine tub. So the girl looked at the 16-year-old, gave it to her and said, "Oh, I'll be back with a lid." But then we decided this was a thing we didn't need to be carting around on the train with us. And so we just left it. But so those are just some noticing.
So this woman came back?
She never brought the lid back.
Okay.
So those are just some noticings of things that are different. So maybe they need to figure out the takeout, or not the takeout. I keep saying that. They need to figure out the leftovers, taking home the leftovers. We need to name restaurants more interestingly. We need to limit restaurants 18 and up as per our whim, however we feel that should happen. And we need to step up our kids menu game over here.
I bet restaurants make bank on kids' menu because it's the cheapest of things, but the prices don't necessarily reflect that. They probably make a lot of money off that.
I'm sure.
All right. So the restaurants, we learned some things in the UK. Give us a couple more categories.
Okay, public restrooms.
Public restrooms, yes. So we did talk about, when we discussed public restrooms, that they do have self-cleaning restrooms in Europe and in the UK, some of them.
I did not experience those.
Oh, okay. Well, go ahead.
So here's the thing. Free public restrooms, not a thing in England. You're not walking along and, if you're at a shopping center, there's usually a public restroom here. That's not a thing. You have to be a patron of whatever the establishment is. They give you a code. The door is coded.
Well, they have that here.
They have that here, but you also, like, if we were up the road at the food and restaurant place that's right up the road, there are public restrooms there. If we're there and the 6-year-old says I have to go to the bathroom, you take him to the bathroom.
Oh, sure.
You don't have to go in and buy a coffee to be able to get the code to go to the bathroom, right? This does happen here, usually in bigger cities. But there's no publicly available restroom. So we spent a day at the Natural History Museum. Of course, there are toilets there. That's the other thing, is they're called toilets, not restrooms. And to me, toilet is more of a crass word.
Right, but it's more fit for purpose because you're not resting in the restroom.
Right. And had this conversation with our UK friends. They actually feel the need for actual restrooms. But so I felt really like, where's the toilet? Like, I'd have to whisper it because it just felt like I was saying something crass.
Right, but don't they call them loos?
No, yes, but all of the signs would say toilets and then have an arrow, like in the airports and everything. It's just toilets.
Okay, so this goes back to me, this avoidance that we have for the very stark reality. Everybody poops.
I know.
Everybody poops. Why do we avoid it? I mean, I'm not looking to have it on display. Or carry it around in a bag. We can do it discreetly when we actually do it, but it's okay to everyone. There's a children's book. Everybody poops.
Yes, it's true. It's true. I saw a puzzle in the bookstore that was like, whose poop is this? And it was just a puzzle of like, but animal scat.
Oh, animals.
Stuff.
Okay, I was just like famous politicians, perhaps. I don't know.
Anyway, so you couldn't just be walking along and. This happened with the 6-year-old. We were shopping kind of near Covent Garden, but had gotten a little off side roads. And all of a sudden he had to go to the bathroom and he had to poop.
Yes.
And there was we were in the middle of all these retail spaces, but no place to go to the bathroom.
Okay.
So I asked, the 16-year-old was in a store. I said, where's the closest public restroom? She said KFC. Across. So we go down, we go over to KFC. I still had to buy some popcorn chicken to be able to get the code, go upstairs. And honestly, somebody walked in and said, this is like a horror movie. And I was going to say to you, it was like a horror movie scene. There was blood places. People had not. Yes.
There was blood.
Yes. And
my God.
People had not flushed. And the 6-year-old's got to go so bad. And it was the worst thing. So they needed the self-cleaning toilets because clearly this place was not being cleaned. I saw many people out with brooms sweeping up the dining area. Nobody going in and cleaning the toilets.
Oh, because it was a crime scene. You weren't even supposed to. Did you not see the tape?
No, I did not see the tape. And then so what happened, there were four stalls, right? And 3 of them were really awful. One of them didn't have toilet paper. And so that's the one the 6-year-old was in. And I was having to go into the awful ones to get toilet paper for him. And so I had not shut his door back. And this girl walked past me and walked into like the really gross ones, was like, oh my God. And then went to open his. And before I could say there's someone in there, she opened the door and there's just a 6-year-old boy sitting there. And she screamed and said, it's like a horror movie. She was like the ghost of the pooping child or something. So anyway, I felt like we needed to be hosed down when we left. It was really bad.
So the UK is definitely in need of unscrewing up their public restroom situation.
Well, they need public restrooms and they need to be clean. The thing is, they keep the streets really clean. It's not like New York. I mean, New York can get really kind of funky on trash days. People are piling the trash out front. And there was trash piled up out front on trash days, but it still was like orderly. And we were there, like I told you, we were there for Pride. And so we were stepping over just mounds and mounds of crushed lager cans, beer cans, whatever. But as soon as the parade ended, all the people came out to start cleaning up. I mean, and
nice.
That's what we learned from our friend Mark, is that they really don't mess around. They keep the city clean.
Nice.
They can extend that to we need public restrooms and we need them to be cleaned.
Okay.
So the public restroom situation was It was gross. It was really, really gross. I mean, obviously not in the museums. If you were in,
Well, but also we're talking now in London, so this is let's not paint the entire country of England with the London brush.
right. Well, but even when we were in Birmingham, there weren't public restrooms, but we also didn't have that emergency situation where I needed to try to find someplace.
Right.
We went to a very lovely children's museum. Bathroom was fine. We, in the hotels, I was in a conference center, all of that, bathroom's fine. However, they're tiny.
Yes.
The bathrooms were small because, again, Americans were just bigger people.
Yes.
And so we need larger spaces. But I had a giant backpack with me, and I'd have to back into, I couldn't get in and turn around with the backpack on. I'd have to take the backpack off and then anyway. So they're small, they're gross. And then the one place that we wound up going is there's a chain, it's Pret a Manger, or however you say it in French, but we just called it Pret. But they have salad, soup, sandwiches, snacks, fruit, coffee. We would find a Pret to go to the bathroom because and they're still not great because everybody's doing that, but they're pretty freely available. Get the code, go in the one we were in, well, one of the ones we were in, there were a line of toilets and then just the hand washing trough outside of the restrooms. So it was unisex because there would be there were men's stalls and women's stalls and then an accessible stall, but everybody was washing their hands at the same time.
Yeah.
And I got a feeling of what it must be like for you all when you're at urinals, because I was standing there with businessmen and grandmothers and just everybody washing your hands together.
Okay,
and
but
it felt this communal event. It was
right, but
weird.
you don't know what it's like because no one was peeing into the trough. So you don't know.
But it still felt weird. We all knew what we had just done.
By the way, when I went to camp, this is the strangest thing. When I went to camp when I was a kid, they had these trough urinals. Now, in my experience, that camp was the only place I ever saw those things. But clearly they must be, I mean, there were companies that made those. They must have been available in the 80s or 90s in other places as well. But it was a communal bathhouse with shower stalls and a trough urinal where everyone would just go up. And it's a big trough. You just go and you do your thing. There's no divider lines. I'm like, what? And then just thinking back, I'm like, that would not even begin to happen these days. No.
I happen to know from a family member was talking about those being at the beach in Clearwater, but they put ice in them. So then you're
they put ice in them?
Yeah, and then people are just...
Did someone confuse this for cocktail hour? No pun intended?
I don't...
Oh my gosh. All right, we're moving on. All right, one more category here because we're running short on time.
Oh, but I have so many more. All right, well then but let me just some noticings. Hotels were really great. We stayed in Airbnb the second week. The first week in a hotel in the Aloft brand, it was great. They have those around the world.
Sponsor.
Not a sponsor, but go check them out. They do a thing called Camp Aloft where they brought the child a tent and a blow-up bed, and he was very, very happy. However, room service wasn't a thing. The first night we got there, jet lag got us, and so the kids fell asleep at 5 p.m. and slept until 10 the next morning. I was so worried they were going to be hungry. I talked to you and you're like, can you just go get room service or something? So I went down to the restaurant in the lobby, ordered 2 pizzas. They said, we'll call you when it's ready. I went down and they just handed me a tray, like the servers bring the food out on, with full plates and everything.
Right.
And so again, no takeout boxes, just a tray with the food. So I'm trying to push the buttons in the elevator, and you got to do the key to be able to go up to the floors. And I'm holding a tray full of heavy servingware in these pizzas. Get upstairs. I'm like, and then what do I do with this? Do I bring it back down? There was no, in the US, you put your room service trays out in the hallway and they pick them up. But there's no room service, so I didn't know what to do.
That's interesting because I know that when we get room service here in the States, it's very expensive. And so I assume that room service is a big moneymaker.
I don't know if it's just this brand. This brand just doesn't have room service.
Yeah, no, I just think it's interesting to not have room service and make that decision. Unless you don't have the facilities to accommodate that or the staff to accommodate that, because it seems to me that it's a big moneymaker for hotels.
Yeah. Well, we were in the restaurant eating, and the hotel restaurant eating, and the 16-year-old hadn't finished her salad. And so she said, can I take this with me? And they said, sure. And just handed her, picked her bowl up and handed it to her. So she just, again, no takeout containers, just carried her bowl of salad up in the refrigerator. But It was a great hotel experience. We spent one night, well, we were supposed to spend one night, we wound up leaving it, in the conference hotel, and it was fine, except it was a single bed for the three of us and no AC. And just one of those fans that like your grandparents had in the 60s or 70s that wrote, oscillating
things.
Yeah. But the hotel was fine. Airbnb, totally different experience living in somebody else's house. We were pretty North London, but it was great because we wound up getting a feel for the neighborhood. So that brings me to my last category for you. Grocery stores.
Grocery stores, yes.
I find in the US, I get decision paralysis or whatever that's called when you have just so many options.
Yes.
Where we were staying, Tesco is a grocery store. Where we were staying, we were near Tesco Expresses in both cities. So they're much smaller, but it was kind of nice because you didn't stand there and go, which one of these 700 different kinds of yogurts do I want? But the thing is, and I found it weird, but I guess we're the only country that does it. They do not store their eggs in the refrigerated section. The eggs are just shelf stable. They're just like next to the bread, just out. So that was really kind of interesting to me. The other thing is you had to have your receipt to get out of the grocery store. There was a QR code on the receipt or a barcode you had to scan for it to let you out of the grocery store. So I don't know what happens if you don't purchase things. I don't know what happens if you purchase something and then you don't have your receipt and then are you stuck? You then live in this place. That was a little bit.
So wait a second. There is a possibility. They've taken this too far because I get having to purchase something to use the restrooms, but having to purchase something to use the rest of the world, that is taking it to a level right there.
I think that it was because this particular Tesco Express, there was the shopping area and then there was kind of like those turnstiles to get into the register section.
Right.
So I guess once you were into the register section, you were committed, you were purchasing this thing, and then you were stuck in the register section until you purchased it and you scanned your receipt to get out.
That's funny. Well, I mean, but we have that at like Sam's Club here.
No, they checked your receipts if you're leaving with stuff.
Right.
This door will not open if you do not scan this. Like you were, anyway, it was a little bit odd. Honorable mention, they're doing parking garages better than we are because we went and parked in a parking garage with our friend Lev, and they had a sign that said full service car wash while you park. So that was one of our suggestions, was that, you take care of my car while I'm parking. So the UK doing parking garages better, needs some work on their public restrooms. Grocery stores are great. You can get stuck in them. Restaurants, fine. We've got some work to do here in the US, but they need to work on takeaway containers. This is my quick summary of what life is like in England.
Well, thank you, Amanda. All right, Amanda, we have a listener letter. So maybe you can help with this because I resonate deeply with this listener letter. Dear Amanda and Josh, I do not like it when other people are in the kitchen the same time as I am. What can I do about this, as I don't want to cause family conflict, but I want to be able to do my thing in the kitchen when I want to be able to do my thing in the kitchen? Love, Horsey. Horsey.
Did you write this listener letter? Because
No.
I clearly saw this look on your face yesterday when you were trying to put dishes away.
No, but Horsey, what can we do? Amanda, you tell me what can we do? Because this does happen in the house here, and I'm sure that there's some deep psychological things that I need to address, that it drives me absolutely up a wall when anyone else is in our kitchen besides me when I'm trying to get stuff done. But it's a function of the kitchen being too small.
See,
not too small. It's perfectly fine how big it is. It does not lend itself to a crowd.
No, here's the problem with our kitchen. Our kitchen is bigger, but we have a giant island. And so it's nice to have all of that space. However, it then makes the pathway between the sink, the dishwasher, the refrigerator not big enough for two-way traffic.
Okay, so how do we address Horsey's?
You get a bigger kitchen, you get a smaller island.
Okay, right. That doesn't sound very practical. So what are some other solutions that we can offer to Horsey? It's so funny that this person is called Horsey because my first knee-jerk reaction is that Horsey needs to get themselves blinders.
Okay, so they just
blinders so that they just see what they are doing, and maybe supplement that with earbuds. So the rest of the family needs to resign themselves to the fact that when Horsey's in the kitchen, they are an automaton. They are doing their thing. It's like the robot vacuum that's on the floor. Don't get in its way because it's not going to know that you're there. So blinders so that you can be the only person that you see or that you're aware of. That's a solution.
My suggestion, if you have this problem with traffic flow, is that you employ what the UK has done for getting in and out of train stations and also in and out of the grocery store. Apparently, you put up some turnstiles. Or, it's instead of the turnstile, it's the doors that swing open and shut. And believe me, I got caught in one because I thought that the 6-year-old and I could go through one at the same time because you don't have to pay for them on the train, but they have family ones where you can get like strollers through. I was trying to put him through a regular one. He went and it closed on me. And so that happens a few times. People are not going back in the kitchen with you. So you get the doors that swing shut. And then people they can't go in with you. I
like the ideas of having to have a QR code, right, to get in the kitchen, right?
But it's like a fast pass at Disney. You've got your time to go back.
But then I just would never enable the QR code. That would be. How about you just make it your practice to cook cabbage and blue cheese and onions and kimchi? Just always have that be a part of your meal, and the people will not come into the kitchen.
No, but here's the problem with that. We live in a 2-story house, and those smells rise. And bedrooms are above the kitchen. And so that's not great for people to experience while they're trying to sleep.
The only solution that I think that is practically doable then, if you're not going to have the blue cheese casserole every meal, is, sorry, Horsey, you got to cook at midnight.
No, there you go.
You got to cook at midnight. Everyone else is asleep.
Maybe Horsey's not cooking. Maybe Horsey's putting dishes away, loading the dishwasher, and whatever. So, I maybe assigned roles.
Or how about a timeshare? Your kitchen is now a family timeshare, and everyone gets their slot.
That makes sense.
I like that.
Okay.
Yeah. Done.
All right, solved.
Hopefully that was helpful, Horsey. Let us know. If you have a question for us, unscrewitup@gmail.com or any of the socials that you might find us, which is most of them, which is a real hassle. I'm telling you, all these socials, they just came out with Threads, right?
Correct. You can find us there too.
I've got this rotation now for the socials, and I'm scheduled to check Threads next Thursday.
Well, they get
because I'll just be working my way.
Socials timeshare.
That's right. Unbelievable.
But you're okay.
All right, Amanda, I think we've unscrewed up everything that we can unscrew up for today. Thanks for bringing these insights from the UK to us. Very, very helpful and informative.
Well, I'm sorry that you didn't get to experience them, but now that you do have a passport, you can go back and report back to us.
Yeah, I'll do it by myself. There you go.
That's right.
All right, we are part of the Whole Care Network. Go to thewholecarenetwork.com and find resources for caregivers, for people who take care of people. It's a bunch of good work that's being done there, not just podcasts, but educational resources as well. All right, Amanda, so until next week.
Whatever you do, don't screw it up.
Bye.
Bye.
Mr. President, it's time to power down for the night.